10 different types of witches and the meaning of each. What type of witch are you? There are different types of witches, and each practitioner discovers who they are by the type of witchcraft they practice. Solitary witch. A lot of new witches find that they are solitary practitioners, not typically by choice. However, some of us are refined to places with low witch populations and actual community support. A wide majority of magical folk find themselves to be solitary witches, meaning they study and practice independently. This can be a very powerful source of magic and leaves your work to be done by yourself without the support of others. These witches take their magic into their own hands and leave their fate up to no one aside from themselves. Coven Witch. These are the witches who have been able to create a community of a network of witches. Contrary to popular belief, coven witches don't have to congregate in person. You can join an online coven, finding one of the many Facebook groups out there for members to join. Find a group of friends to Zoom with, or even make pen pals on apps like Slowly to create your own coven. Covens typically have great energy and do group spell work and rituals. This is a great practice to get into if you're extroverted and work best in a team setting. Religious witch. You don't have to surrender your previous convictions to follow a path of magic. It's not either or. You can still hold faith in one true God. Just because typical practice includes polytheistic practice doesn't mean you have to. Prayers can be considered rituals. You can pray to Jesus or Abraham. You can give offerings to saints and angels. Don't let the fear of traditional practices steer you away from being a witch. Secular witch. You also don't have to have faith in multitude of gods to be considered a witch. Many witches find they are still atheist or agnostic despite practicing witchcraft. This is still a valid form of the craft. These people can appoint their highest power to the earth around them and more tangible things or even themselves. Village witch. This is the traditional role of the witch, to perform acts of service for the members of the community. People flock to this witch to hear stories of the old ancient energy in the lands and for favors in the guise of spell work. This is a trusted witch, typically the elder of their community, carrying a heavy matriarchal role for those around them. This witch will know remedies on curses and is willing to part ways with this information to the young people of their community in need. Ancestral witch. This is seen in multitude of cultures from hoodoo to heathens, where witches feel most inclined to pay tribute to their ancestors, asking them for offerings instead of just giving faith directly into other spirits or gods. It is important that if you're drawn to your ancestors that you do not appropriate the practice of another. Respect is very important in witchcraft no matter the path. Each culture has their own magic and can't be accessed through research or even DNA testing. Green witch. Much to its name, the green witch is always found somewhere in the middle of nature. If not somewhere on a trail path, then inside of the local nursery. Green witches are masters at herbology, able to create remedies by wandering their local parks. These witches are notoriously environmentally and socially conscious, making great peace leaders within the community. It is not uncommon for people on this path to have their own garden. Even in city apartments with no natural lighting, they can't help their green thumb. Nocturnal Veg. This is a path specifically for night oils and those who burn the midnight oil. If you're more comfortable when the lights go out and are drawn to the darkness, you might be a nocturnal witch. Most of the magic these witches perform is done after midnight, in the wee hours before sunrise. These witches have an air of mystery always around them. Don't be surprised to see them wandering the city streets or parks while everyone else is sleeping. Kitchenwitch. If while in self-isolation you learned how to make a sourdough bread, then you're likely a kitchen witch. These witches use the ingredients in the kitchen to bake and cook their spell work. While they may not always consume their work, as it isn't always advisable to, they always are sure to pour their love into what they're cooking up. These witches use the ingredients they have on hand, but likely have a full spice rack. Crystal Witch. Often boasting a stone collection to compete with the Natural History Museum, these witches come with the power of the earth through pressurized rocks and stones, often working with the other energy work such as Reiki. People who are drawn to the lovely powers of rose quartz or the buzz they get from holding a chunk of amethyst drives them wild. You can find these witches under the moonlight cleansing their crystal collection and trying to raise their stone's vibrations. Divination Witch. These witches are often in touch with their psychic abilities, which is what will draw them to divination. Divination tools are used to contact spirits, interpret past events, and predict the future. These tools vary from witch to witch, but are often seen in tarot cards, scrying tools, runes, pendulums, tea, leaves, and candle wax. These witches may use tools such as pendulum and divination boards to contact those who are passed on and as well. These witches often become professional psychics, or at least bring a deck of cards to parties with them. Mental Witch. While someone like a divination or crystal witch will have a multitude of tools at their disposal, a mental witch works with one thing only, their minds. They work solely on the mental plane, using limited sources to help in conjuring their magic. These witches are often manifesting powerhouses, might be more reserved than others, and meditate frequently.